Good evening, Dota fans, and welcome back to another CSL Thursday night throwdown. It's going to be a good time. We've got a doubleheader kicking off right now with Michigan State versus University of Connecticut. Before we get into the talk, let's talk about who makes this possible. That is Band Gaming, the primary social app of the CSL, with lots of features like boards, calendar functions, polls, chat, and even call functionality. It's the best way to keep your clan, team, and anything else you might do in the know. Download it now at the App Store or Google Play. Twitch is always a huge gratitude for them. Without them, we would not be what we are today. They are the #1 supporter of collegiate esports in the world. And finally, Asus Republic of Gamers joined us for the new season. They are the provider of everything from all their wonderful products such as monitors, laptops, routers, graphics cards, motherboards, and more, inside or out. Don't enter your next battle unless you're equipped with an Asus. Head over to cstarleague.com if you're interested in joining our team. We are hiring a social media manager, as well as you can enter the Asus contest, submitting a web video for 3 laptops or up to $500 in rewards and prizes. So some pretty cool stuff going on. Definitely go check it out. That said, my name is Tophies. I'm joined, as always, by my co-conspirator, Gorgon the Wonder Cow. How are you doing tonight, sir?
You always make me sound so mischievous.
Mischievous?
Yeah, like I'm a conspirator now. I'm not just a co-caster. I'm here meddling, which is it is a little true. I am here meddling. Anyway, we got UConn versus MSU today. I'm really excited about it.
So let's talk about this game real quick, just for you guys to get caught up. MSU and UConn, both teams that have performed pretty well in the regular season. UConn actually had a few stumbling blocks comparatively. So Michigan State performed so well that they got the bye round in the first round of 32. They have not played yet. So this is their first round in the tournament, and they're going up against UConn, who proved themselves by crushing the Fighting Illini 2-0. So they definitely have proven that they've picked up their game. They're in a better position, and they're ready to fight through this one. That said, the favorite is still Michigan State for 2 reasons, Gorgon. And this is the kind of thing I like to give a little bit of background information. UConn apparently had a bit of a clerical error and didn't realize they played. They thought they played 4 hours from now. So the UConn captain, MMR Assassin, was literally running around campus, rounding up his team 25 minutes ago, and got them all here before the forfeit timer ran out. So that may have an effect on if they're sort of calm and ready and composed enough to win this game.
Be glad that it wasn't MSU that had to run around campus. That's one of the largest campuses in the country. It's like 2 miles across at an angle. So
to me, it's an up and a down because A, they're probably not ready. B, any captain who has the amount of contact and control over his team to get them all to computers and logged in within 15 minutes is a captain who knows his team well. So we'll see if MMR Assassin is able to utilize that in Dota. But let's talk about the draft now because these are starting to come out here. We've got a whole lot of information. We got a Space Cow and a Shadow Fiend with a Slardar Initiator. Team of Venom has a pretty violent opening lineup here.
They also have a lot of negative armor coming out from the Corrosive Haze, as well as the presence of the Dark Lord. The physical damage that they have right now is pretty solid. Spirit Breaker, obviously, largely physical. Slardar and Shadow Fiend have pretty high physical components. I would expect a really heavy right-clicker to come out as their farming carry, which is yet to be revealed. As for their opponents here on the Dire side, I'm assuming that that's going to be a Cordlina and an off-lane Magnus with a farming Juggernaut, and potentially a mid-Juggernaut, but I think it'll end up in the safe lane.
Absolutely.
So probably a support left to come out here. Not guaranteed, but probably.
It feels to me like the lineup we're getting from Michigan State is going to be a little more finesse-driven, whereas UConn seemed like it's going to be driven by a lot of brute force to a certain extent. I mean, obviously Rubik's one of those finesse support, but these guys seem like they want to come out of nowhere with Blink Daggers in charge and make your day very, very bad. Whereas Dire, I feel like they really need to sort of solidify a couple of really good combos, make sure they're working together as a team. That Bloodlust on the Juggernaut is going to be absolutely brutal with the Empower.
If you remember, there were some pretty serious changes to Lena in 7.03. Her talent tree was completely rechanged. So now she has a minus 30-second respawn time at level 10. And then they rearranged it so that you can actually stack her plus damage, which is now plus 50 instead of plus 40.
Yeah.
You can stack her fiery souls, and you can stack her attack range. So her right click is really insane, and she respawns very quickly, which gives her sort of a lone druid feel on this patch. And on top of that, if this game does go long enough, Magnus is going to be able to pull out an Ags, which would give Lena a permanent, whenever Magnus is around, splash damage effect on those right clicks as well.
Okay, I was curious if it affected her because of the range nature of the attack.
Yeah, so you get the damage if it's cast on you, but you don't get the cleave. But if you have the Ags on Magnus, the Ags puts the Empower in an aura, and that does do half the cleave damage as splash. So it is really good with a hero like Lina in the late game. All
right, so we get this thing up and running right now as the players decide where they are going to sit. Should be a pretty good matchup. Gosh, that Ag Scepter is going to be really terrifying. I like the lineup. I just don't know. It feels like Team of Venom, or Michigan State, if you will, is going to be, I'm sorry, UConn, is going to be very aggressive very early. Are they going to, do the guys from Michigan State need time to get that Ags up, or are they going to be pretty functional without those sort of benefits? Like, when do they come online?
I think they come online pretty early, actually. It really depends on how strong that Lina is as a player, but all things considered, that Ags is like, if this game goes to 45, 50 minutes, they can continue to scale with that. I don't think that that's a rushed item. I don't think that that's a necessary item, but it is a synergy that I wanted to mention because a lot of players don't know about it. It's a fairly recent change.
Very, very cool. All right, guys, if you are just joining us, this is the CSL matchup round of 16 between, it is going to be University of Connecticut and Michigan State University as this thing gets underway. My name is Toffees. You can find me at Toffees TV. I'm joined by my co-caster, Gorgon the Wonder Cow. You can find him at the Wonder Cow. I'm going to turn it over to him to introduce our first team.
All right, and here for the Dire side, that is going to be your MSU, Michigan State University. We've got Baboka on the Disruptor, Burning Fangay is sliding around on that Magnus. Farseer is throwing out the two heads on Ogre Magi. Sleep at 4 is burning up on Lina, and it's all lines taking Juggernaut for a spin.
All right, on the opposite side, it looks like it is going to be the Radiant, controlled by the favorites here, Michigan State. All right, did you just do?
30 seconds.
No, UConn's on the Radiant. Okay, because you're an alumni, by the way, if you guys didn't know that.
I am
expect some bias from this guy. University of Connecticut, MMR Assassin will be playing the Slardar. Melody will be playing the Shadow Fiend. Over in the mid, it's going to be old ZH1. Slowly making his way down there to help out with the room, potentially. We're going to have Ego playing on the Bear, and Village Fish is going to be on the Space Cow. And what a great hero for someone who calls himself Ego. I mean, I feel like Ursa is one of those heroes that is literally geared towards that kind of player. The, I'm the best, I can go in, I can survive just about any fight kind of guy.
Yeah, Ursa is definitely the sort of hero that you want to play if you want people looking at you. He almost to an artificial level gets stat buffs based on whether his team is able to allow him to close the gap, right? Like, he does much more damage in very short periods than a lot of heroes, but he provides a lot less in terms of control. And because of that, you know, the end of game stats board looks really good for an Ursa player, but usually when Ursas win, it does largely come down to how much control did his team provide and what was the pace set by his affiliates.
Absolutely. So we should have a pretty good matchup between these two teams. And guys, don't forget that this is a best of 3. The loser is eliminated for the tournament. The winner moves on. I believe, didn't we figure out last week that if you advance from this round, all the players currently, the team has made $500 at this stage of the tournament. If you advance to the next round, you are guaranteed a minimum of $2,000 in prize. So this is a pretty big money process, plus it puts you within striking distance, one best of 3 away from getting the all-expense paid trip to Toronto for the LAN final. So a pretty big game for these two teams as they set up to play here. But that's not the only big game tonight, Gorgon, as we have a second game coming up directly after this one. So it's going to be a big doubleheader. And if you are interested in RIT versus Purdue, that's happening over on the C-Star League 2 channel. So we've got 3 college Dota games all going in one night. It's a smorgasbord of collegiate goodness.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to the amount of games that we have breaking out here, and just a missed first blood attempt there in the top lane as well. Let's take a look at the way these lanes are breaking down. I'd like to point out the very good vision that Dire has come out and managed to set up here. A good mid lane ward that I think they smoked the playset, but I didn't quite see. So I think it is unknown to Radiant. And then really good defensive jungle vision for this offlaner on the Magnus.
Definitely. All right, so right now we got MMR Assassin being harassed pretty bad by Baboka, who has been in his face since the start of this thing. Those are both the captains of the respective teams, by the way, showing each other right out of the gate that they are willing to trade some blows. So should be pretty interesting. Melody and Sleep at 4 in the middle. Talk about this mid matchup and what to expect out of it and who needs to come out ahead.
Yeah, like I said, a lot of the pacing that's going to be coming out here for MSU is going to depend on the level of comfort that this Lina player has with how much farm she needs to feel good. She, at this stage in the game, should be pretty well ahead of the Shadow Fiend. Her right-click damage outpaces his until he gets a decent amount of soul stacks. And she also just has a little bit better magical spam.
Gotcha.
But, she is going to be charged, and she's a very vulnerable hero in general. She doesn't have a good escape.
And that is a tricky part of playing her, is the fact that she is not, it's not just that she's squishy in the early game, it's that she doesn't have a lot to sort of make her not squishy as the game progresses, you know? At least Sniper has things like range that he can add on. Lena's always at a risk. So what about the lineup for, oh, hold on a second. A attempted gank ends up being a counter initiation, as Village Fish will come forward, use the stun, harass the Lina just a little bit. What is it about the lineup on Dire's side that will allow them to keep the Lina alive as these fights sort of progress?
They're going to group up relatively early, I would imagine. I mean, Disruptor and Magnus are both good AoE contributors. You also have the amazing synergy between Light Strike Array and Reverse Polarity. So these guys want to be grouped up. They want to be taking towers relatively early with the Fiery Soul, with the Juggernaut Sustain that comes out of Healing Ward. And pretty much I would expect as soon as that Juggernaut has maybe 2 core items and has solo stripped this top tower, that's when we're probably going to see these guys start to collapse together.
So we're going to see a pretty aggressive Juggernaut as far as... Whoa, what happened?
This mid lane.
Nice charge.
Blood here.
Village Fish charging from the top, so they came into the jungle and they had a nice wraparound. And that's the trouble with the Space Cow, is the knockback can just put you in such a dangerous position. And a great first blood on a hero that you brought up, they need to make sure they control the pacing of. Lina going to fall pretty far behind off of that. You don't want to lose that ground to a Shadow Fiend.
Yeah, that was actually a really nice charge coming in. He had to come in through the tower, but he completely caught her off guard, realizing that she probably has defensive vision up somewhere. He just came straight from the opposite side that she would have expected it.
All right, we're going to go to the middle where Farseer is in a fight with Shadow Fiend. He takes a lot of damage. Melody's got to run away. Sleep at 4 says, I got your number, baby, and ends up taking him out, but gets counter killed. The Ogre Magi goes down. ZH1 wants Sleep at 4. Sleep at 4 turns around and says, well, I'll take the Rubik with me. If nothing else, gets the Rubik and should be able to get away from the Village Fish. Maybe Village could be in some trouble as Baboka's coming around. Sleep at 4 goes for the stun. Village Fish goes for the attack. Gets pulled back. No kinetic field for protection, though, and now comes some MMR Assassin looking for Sleep at 4. She goes around the Roche pit. ZH1 is here to help. Sleep at 4 on the run. Baboka doesn't have any mana, but Farseer is here with the slow, follows with the stun. They want to go after Assassin, get him with the light strike. MMR Assassin's got to run. Baboka takes huge damage from the Shadow Fiend. It goes down. WTF.
Yeah, you'll trade a Disruptor for a double kill on your Lina, though, right? I mean, it was a Disruptor and an Ogre Magi, and the Shadow Fiend died. This is... In this game, that is the hero most dependent on staying alive because he loses his soul count every time he dies.
Right.
So that's a really good trade, all things considered, for Dire. Granted, the Lina was out of lane for quite a while, but because the Shadow Fiend died, it's not like she was falling behind.
Right. They both were sort of out of their position, so it wasn't that big of a loss. Really nice early play, 4-2, back and forth between these two teams, but it feels... Is it skewed one way or the other right now?
Yeah, I think it's close, but MSU feels like they're in better control. The Juggernaut didn't leave his lane for that last skirmish. Neither did the Magnus, so you had contest of 2 lanes, whereas only the Ursa stayed in lane for the Radiant side here. And Juggernaut is starting to completely pull ahead.
For what it's worth, when I do pull up the charts, you guys are probably seeing Venom and the Dire. Venom is MSU, just so that you guys know where the numbers are at. I don't know. There was a bit of a graphical glitch, I guess, in the game, so it didn't put up their actual team names. Just so everybody is on the same page. Gold lead only at 400, XP still dead even, so no one with a distinct advantage in terms of what their numbers say. Let's take a look at some of the farm that's come out so far. Is anybody sitting on anything surprising yet? Still brown boots. Nothing super big.
Surprising. We're not quite, I mean, it's only 6 minutes into the game, and remember the passive gold was nerfed recently, so you're not expecting people to get going quite as quickly as you would have expected.
Okay, so
even very recently.
Let me ask you about the Juggernaut. Now, Juggernaut's a hero that has been insanely popular, whether you want to account that to a new Arcana or the fact that he's very strong with the built-in BKB, is what it is. The question I have for you, Gorgon, as the expert, is what determines a player's build on a Juggernaut, from a fast-fighting 2-item Juggernaut to something like the old Battle Fury late-game farmer?
I'm sorry. What was the question there?
Like, what are you looking for?
Don't build the Battle Fury. Yeah,
okay, so go ahead.
Typically, you're not going to want that at the current pace of game because it takes too long to come online, right? And so you need a lot more control of the map than you're really going to be likely to get with a lot less action from your farming carry. And to keep in mind,
Lena gank again. They're going to come to the mid. The Fish does the exact same gank as before, and it works out exactly the same. Ogre Magi comes forward, puts himself in a tough position. Melody wants to follow. They'll just do a little harassed and back away. But again, that's the exact same gank that they did last time. They just send that Spirit Breaker to here and charge straight down. That is a well-practiced gank from this team.
Yeah, and he's now going to charge up top where the Juggernaut is trying to solo strip down this tower with his first catapult. As I'd mentioned, they probably would pretty early. What I was going to say is keep in mind that competitive level teams don't give highest farm priority to the side lane carry anymore. Haven't for a while. IG is one of the last teams in the world at a highly competitive level that do this. They put it in burning. But almost every team in the world, like more than 6 out of 8. Teams that play at a high level put more farm on their mid than on their farming carry. So if your farming carry goes for one of these heavy farm items like a Battle Fury, he's supposed to be the pusher and the pace setter in a lot of cases. Most drafts make your offlaner an initiator, the pace setter is your farming carry, and then the mid is going to have the greatest gold representation in the team in order to be a heavy utility and heavy damage dealer in fights. And I'll have to come back to this because
Village Fish won't do anything about that. The spin a little too scary and was left by himself. But, lets him know, hey, I'm always watching and I'm always rotating. The scary thing about a Space Cow, right? You never sort of can rest on your laurels. So since we're talking about the Juggernaut and sort of this carry pace setter idea, what is it that has made his popularity so much higher than, say, like a PA? It seems like they fulfill a similar role, but we see a lot more Juggernaut played these days.
Juggernaut's a lot better at pushing. Okay. He has a little bit better in terms of survivability stat gain as well. And he requires a lot less time to farm. He has just better ability to sort of flash farm out. He does also have the Blade Fury and Omni Slash, so he can burst down individual opponents earlier on in the game than PA can. So PA comes online in terms of being at, peak pace. She often will come online a little bit later, and she just doesn't provide the amount of tower siege that the Juggernaut does. In addition, Juggernaut provides his whole team the value of Healing Ward and has a built-in BKB, which is really nice in an era where we're coming back to a lot of castable stuff.
Yeah, and you want to say, and that's a lot of save net worth. Let's move to the other side of the map and talk about the Ursa Bear, Ego, and sort of what he needs to accomplish, where he fits into this game. Is he keeping up with the pace that he needs to keep up with, and what do we expect to see out of him in the next 10, 15 minutes?
For the Juggernaut, I think he's absolutely keeping up with the pace he wants. Sub 10 minutes are knocking down his tier 1 tower. He is going to have his Yasha up before 10 minutes as well, probably. That's a really good pace to set. He's actually outpacing his Magnus by a pretty significant margin. Magnus is going to go into a Hand of Midas, so the initiation on this team might be a little slow.
I was going to ask you what Ursa's next 10 minutes were going to look like as well, but it looks like he's right where he wants to be, which is going straight into the Roche pit. Ogre Magi thinks something's going on. They're pinging it. They're going in. Immediately caught with the stun. Everyone's there. They get the Ogre very fast, but this could be some trouble. Charge coming out. Burning gets nothing. Ego out the back door. Village Fish in some trouble. Omni Slash comes forward. Going to move on the Shadow Beam. They don't want to lose him, but he'll go down. The spin is winning all over the place. They do manage to pull back. Rubik with the double. Laguna comes in and takes the life as well of Ursa. So the 2 cores are down. ZH1's got to run. Village Fish comes for the save. MMR wants to try to finish off sleeping at 4. Gets body blocked by his own man. Can't quite make the follow. Does manage to get it with the right click. Caught in the light strike array. But Boca goes down. 4 of them as they try to contest the Roche. Yeah, they got both cores, but at what cost? At what cost, Gorgon?
Yeah, the thing is, too, right before the end of the fight, it looked like MSU had managed to turn that around, from instantly losing a hero to making a pretty solid trade, and then just slight mispathing from the Disruptor, the body block on his own teammate. And to his credit, he did then body block his opponents, but he had already closed the gap a little too much, and the Lina turning around to try and drop that light strike array was maybe necessary, but also maybe...
They're going right back into it. MMR Assassin does a run. He goes straight to the high ground. We got the charge coming in from the Spirit Bear. Here comes Ego. Walks into the spin. They're going to lose the Slaughter. Village Fish going in very dangerously. Meanwhile, they push back Juggernaut. Juggernaut's used the spin. Wants the Fish. The Fish going to get pulled back. I don't know why that charge went the way that it did, but he is in deep trouble. Ego coming in to save him, though. No man left behind. Sees the Juggernaut. Wants the Juggernaut. They've already lost 2. Will they lose more? Are they too deep? They decide maybe it's too late for this. Burning not able to close the distance. Laguna Blade, Ego very low. If they can get one more shot off. Nice save by ZH1 to buy some time. Ego will get away. Laguna is down, but they lost 2 for really no reason.
This would be going much better if Juggernaut had, taken the time to get in position right before that fight, and if he had the Empower on him the whole time.
Well, again, though, this
little things made a big difference there in terms of...
I think some of the issue they're running into is UConn is... It literally felt like a no man left behind sort of policy. These guys took a fight that I don't think Juggernaut ever expected them to take. He thought, we'll throw the kinetic field, they'll run away from Roche, we'll go back to farming, no big deal. And then all of a sudden, UConn's like, hell no, you dinked us, now let's play.
Yeah, though all said and done, out of that huge protracted engagement, that is MSU's favor. They take
for sure.
Tower, they take pretty even trades in total, and they're going to smoke up behind this tower as well and try to force a rotation down onto this Magnus. They're all smoked up and ready to jump.
Definitely hiding in the trees, getting ready to go. Juggernaut's going to come out with Magnus as they push it down. See the Empower, I would assume, there it is on the Magnus as well. See before, clears off the creeps. Uses the glyph, but not much they can do. They say, all right, well, let's get the Roche if they're on the bottom. Slow down as much as we can. Dire says, if we know we're going to have to sack the Roche at some point, so let's at least get a tower out of it.
And, yeah, they absolutely are going to try and contest this, too. They wanted to get the tower. Big charge.
Makes the move, goes in, Melody pops the ultimate. He set up enough, but didn't get a lot of damage. They do lose the Disruptor, but that's about it. Ursa finally gets down. The Aegis gets it in hand. They want to make a chase. Now the rest of the team has to run. Dire's going to take the back foot. Will they convert to a mid tower to try and salve the loss of the bottom tower? It looks like they're not at this moment. They're going to walk away and make sure they can regroup effectively. Ego, however, is going to go ahead and take the Ancients. A nice little... spit in the eye of the Dire, and I like when they do this. You leave that one Ancient up there just to sort of taunt them on the respawn.
Yeah, and that's much more costly now than it used to be, right? Because they only respawn once every 2 minutes, so...
Very interesting. So, good play by Ego. He'll walk up to the top lane, go right back to farming, Aegis in hand. Blink Dagger about 1,000 away, so not too far off for him. Old ZH1 has been Johnny on the spot in this game, so we'll do a quick Rubik feature, as he has done a really great job of sort of being where he needs to be at any given time. Has dodged like 3 kinetic fields that would have been the end of his team, so very effective so far. Hasn't done a lot of stealing since we're only level 7, but I'm pretty excited about the placement that I've seen from him and what to expect there. Meanwhile, Magnus gets picked off by Melody down on the bottom lane. Melody just hiding in the trees and comes out and just dekes him. Didn't even use the ultimate, I don't think.
Yeah, you mentioned that the Rubik hasn't done a lot of stealing, but honestly, in this last fight, he managed to grab himself a Dragon Slave that ended up securing a kill, at least one kill. He got the Blade Fury, which at this stage in the game at max level is a pretty significant amount of damage output that Rubik's able to use for the Blade Fury. He's been getting a lot of really good spells.
Absolutely. We got a lot of folks joining us, guys. This is the Collegiate Star League College Dota. We are in the round of 16. The winner of this game moves on to the Elite 8. Their chance at the land final. Whoa, initiation. MMR comes in, gets a nice stun. They burn down the Juggernaut before he can do anything to survive. Kinetic Field doesn't matter if your man is stuck inside with it. Ego goes after Farseer, misses the stun, doesn't matter, gets the kill. Now the chase is on. MMR Assassin says, surprise, Blink Dagger, boys. Sleep at 4 again, goes down. Kinetic Field locks him inside of there with those who wish to kill him. But Boca drops as well, and OMG, UConn right back into control of this thing. They are bringing it. Now, Michigan was the favorite, Gorgon. UConn, however, playing very, very well.
Yeah, remember during the draft and immediately into the late two considerations, right? One is MSU will do exactly as well as Zelina is prepared to fight early. And she is not.
Burning, burning, burning.
Ooh, just barely.
Wow, Magnus takes him out. They're killing, and they are not apologetic about it. MR Assassin goes to the high ground, tries to get the smash. Not going to do it. They get the tower. They walk away. But as I was saying earlier, guys, Collegiate Dota, the winner goes on to the round of 8. If they make the top 4, they get an all-expense-paid trip to the land final in Toronto. First place prize this year is $20,000. So $20,000 on the line for these players. And you can tell by how aggressively these teams are being. UConn feels like they have absolutely prepared for this thing.
So let's rewind, come back to my second of two considerations at the beginning of this game. How quickly is this Magnus going to be able to collapse in with the Juggernaut? Juggernaut's basically to where he needs to be in order to contribute pretty heavily in these fights. He'd like to finish his Manta, but he can do so off of kill gold. He really needed somebody to be doing initiating, though. Magnus bought his Blink Dagger just before he died in the mid lane a minute ago, so he's there now. Lena's really the only hero that's lagging substantially behind where she needs to be. She's about 4,000 net worth behind her lane opponent, the Shadow Fiend.
Okay.
Yeah, he's actually almost double her net worth, which is really bad. She's very clearly, at this moment, the weak link in the squad.
I mean, if you look at overall net worth, right now, UConn is Michigan is it? Sorry, UConn is at 7,500 right now. So they are just absolutely
almost 5,000 of that is the difference between Shadow Fiend and Lena.
Yeah, we'll pull that over. I should have had that stack chart up for you guys a couple minutes ago. Here it is for you, so you can see it. It's 10. Jeez, Louise, man, you weren't kidding.
Yeah, I mean, she's fallen very far behind. Those ganks from the Spirit Breaker onto her, a couple of bad turnarounds. She's going to go down here again as well, potentially anyway.
All right, there's the move forward. Juggernaut with the save. Up goes Lena into the Yules. Spirit Breaker stun. Laguna Bladed. He's probably going to go down here. Kinetic Field to lock him in place. Can't get in for the fight. A good kill on a very aggressive play coming out of the Radiant. Radiant decides to back away. Ego watching. Got that Blink Dagger. Wants to try to use it. Light Strike Array. Not going to take anybody out. And it looks like, for the time being, UConn will just extract themselves from what has become a sticky situation. And the Tier 1 will still stand.
Yeah, that's really nice. They waited out the Aegis. They got a kill onto the Lena, which helped close the gap a little bit. The Juggernaut out of that fight passed the Ursa in net worth. And Juggernaut, honestly, he's in a much better position to provide some sustain for his team onto towers, whereas Ursa's can really only pressure objectives right now if MSU's lost a hero or two already. And the reverse polarity is still up. They didn't use it in that last engagement.
So they are in good shape. Here comes the rotation, though. Melody and Ego can't say no to a fight. Ego jumps in, forces the spin, dodges the shockwave. Farseer with the harass gets a nice double proc there to slow everybody down. Village Fish looking for his favorite topside initiation. Likes to come from the opposite direction and throw the whole game into chaos. Farseer moving forward, a lot of harassment. They're not wanting to walk away. They sort of look like they want to take this fight, but they don't have the health advantage. That Juggernaut already sitting at a 3/4 health here. Initiation, MMR comes in, gets up the bash. Melody goes invis. There's Ego, goes deep and blows up Abeka very fast. Nice silence comes out, but no one's inside of it. Farseer drops down. Juggernaut turns back for Fish. Ego, MMR going head-to-head all over the place. Magnus in some trouble. Charges out to try to get to safety, but he just takes the rest of the team right to his Juggernaut. And it's a team wipe, baby, as everyone goes down.
polarity there. They absolutely needed a reverse polarity. And what I was trying to say as those smokes were coming out, that that UConn were positioning themselves very well into that Magnus.
Yeah.
They were not giving him any opportunity to land that. I'm surprised that the Juggernaut didn't drop his healing ward a little earlier. They had it that whole time when you were saying that their health was starting to dwindle a little bit, that they could get initiated on. That's really the time to drop that healing ward if you're going to hang around.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So a little bit of a mistrigger by MSU. I do know that this is not their favorite map side. They prefer to be on the other. So if they do lose this side, I know that they feel more comfortable going into the next game. Should be pretty interesting, and they're not a team that tends to tilt that easily. MMR Assassin, speaking of potential tilting, Lena gets caught out and burnt down, but a nice play by Magnus, a reverse polarity. The Yule Scepter saves a life. They're going to go to the high. Ursa in some trouble. So going after Farseer. Farseer in trouble. Lena goes down. There's the follow-up. A nice smash again. They're going to get 3. Can they make it more as the guys from Michigan State just have to run, man?
Yeah, that honestly is starting to feel like, oh, this game is over moment. The communication just wasn't there. Reverse polarity was cast at the same time as the Yule Scepter, so the Lena couldn't run away while her opponents were stunned. They do not seem like they're on the same page, and UConn are always initiating together.
Absolutely. UConn running very well synchronized as a team, and very effective with their style of play. Melody, lots of items. Manta style going to be coming out to him very, very soon here. Slardar looks like he's about to pick up a Force Staff. Old ZH1. There's so many Blink Daggers. They have so much mobility on this team. That Ursa Basher already has put in a ton of work, and also a Blink Dagger there. Let's count Blink Daggers for these guys. 3 so far. Would not be surprised to see more.
Yeah, 3 and a Shadow Blade. So
True.
There's a lot of initiation potential here coming out of UConn. They've invested almost half their net worth in initiation potential, in fact. And it's paying off for them, right? The Slardar was able to initiate much earlier than the Magnus.
Oh, there's a charge.
Wow.
They do put him in an uncomfortable position, so they are going to get a little bit of free time here to go after Ego, but Ego is very tanky. Going after, he gets caught by the Omni Slash, so he will die out, but they want Magnus in the interim. Magnus taking a lot of damage. Disruptor will ultimately go down. Magnus to the high ground. Sleep at 4 on the chase. They want the Village Fish. They're tired of his charging. Can he get away? He goes for it. Charges up instead of down. Very smart, and he will be able to clear out, as will everyone else. So they managed to get the Ursa off of a very sexy Blink Skewer from Burning.
Yeah, that was very nice. The Ursa jumped in way too far, though. He's starting to get a little cocky. This game is not unlosable by UConn. It's just unclinchable by MSU. They really need UConn to make mistakes like that in a pretty repeated fashion.
Absolutely. All right, let's take a look at what the net worth is. 1,500 for UConn right now. XP is over 10. They are in very firm control of this match. Man, that Shadow Fiend just looks unbeatable. I mean, it's been a long time since I played WoW, but that is something I would expect to show up, as a Molten Core raid boss.
Yeah, and speaking of raid boss, Roche is going to be up in just a second. Wow, as Spirit Breaker leaves the pit, Roche respawns. They might not be aware that it has come up. I don't think it was a max respawn time, although it was pretty close, so they are going to go back and check here soon.
Meanwhile, the guys on the Dire aggressively, desperately farm. It looks like the defusal is almost done here on the Juggernaut. And what's his goal going to be with that defusal in these fights?
The defusal gives him a lot more control. Obviously, it gives him a pretty decent amount of damage increase as well. He should be able to knock down. In terms of, like, a lot of these heroes are very mobile and trying to get away from him. He should be able to catch up to them. It's a pretty standard pick for a Juggernaut at this current meta.
Absolutely. Just, fill in a little bit of time. I may be playing a lot of Juggernaut in my pubs right now, so I figure I'll ask the questions that drive the builds.
Yeah, in a lot of cases, you get that defusal also to knock down positive buffs. Well, there's honestly not a lot on this team for UConn that can be
diffused.
So yeah, diffused, purged, as they say.
If you will. Thanks, Purge.
If you will, rather.
All right, Ursa is a little bit far forward here. They may try to capitalize. Nope, Sleep before was just going to check the rune and back away. Restoration rune in the tank. Very happy to have that. Bloodstone about halfway done for him right now, so he's going to be looking at that next. What else are we looking at? Juggernaut is very close. He's He's at that stage where all you want is to finish out the farm, and he does. So the defusal is on its way to him right now. They'll try to use that to initiate a fight very quickly. Farseer is going to build a Shadow Blade on the Ogre Magi. Disruptor looks like he's very slowly working his way towards a Force Staff, and another Shadow Blade going to be coming out on Burning. So that'll be 2 Shadow Blade initiations. Is that the problem for Dire right now? It seems like initiation is what they're shooting for to fix their issues. Is that going to save it for them?
I think that was the problem when they started to lose control of this game, but at this point in time, they're being out-damaged as well. The Shadow Blade is going to give them a little bit more damage potential, but yeah, they need to get this Lina up and running, basically. She's still sitting on just a Yule's.
Right.
She will have her Bloodstone up here very shortly. But she doesn't have the survivability in a lot of cases to protect those Bloodstone charges, which could be as much of a problem.
Right. Well, and the bad news is Ego and Melody are both now working on their BKBs, which makes her really, I think, a struggle at this point. MMR Assassin comes in, gets up a big bash, put inside Kinetic and Silence. Uh-oh, Ego jumps into the Silence. That's going to hurt him a little bit here. MMR out the back. Village Fish trying to get away. Nice ultimate from Melody, though. Puts out some real work. They're going to lose that Juggernaut. He has no buyback. Lina putting in some as well, but she goes down. Melody has become a god, and they cannot take him down. The raid boss is legitimate. Ego comes back with that Aegis of the Immortal, and the single G comes out from Sleep at 4, and a disconnect right away. So it looks
that we're going to get a real GG here in a minute.
I would have, yeah. So Farseer goes ahead and does the polite thing, throws the GG, and the guys from UConn take game 1. It's not over, folks. We're going to a game 2. It is a best of 3. Winner moves on. Loser is eliminated from the tournament. So MSU with their backs against the wall as we move on to game 2. My name is Toffees. You can find me at Toffees TV. I'm joined by Gorgon the Wonder Cow. You can find him at the Wonder Cow. You can find all of us at C Star League. And Gorgon, if you had to pick one player or play of the game, what would it be?
I would say it's Village Fish. 0-2-21 Spirit Breaker opened up several opportunities to knock this Lina down, and the discrepancy between her ability to contribute and Melody on the Shadow Fiend's ability to contribute out of that middle lane was basically the defining factor of this game for me.
Absolutely, I agree. Couldn't agree more, guys. Don't go anywhere. Your banned player of the game is the Fish. And we're back with game 2 in just a minute.